What's that noise? What's that noise? You guys hear anything? I don't know. It's feeling pretty spooky in here. I don't. Do you guys see anything? Or hear anything? There is a skeleton climbing my shelves back there. That's pretty creepy. Well, it is only fitting because today we're going to be talking about sponsorship horror stories. Ooh. What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to the live stream today. It's going to be a creepy one, very creepy one. And I've got my campfire headlight here. It looks like it's reflecting a little bit into the camera, so I might not do it the whole time, but I needed to I needed to feel like it was getting creepy. I'm going to tell some spooky ghost stories. We're going to be talking all about horror stories. It's going to be a lot of fun today. I've got some fun ones to share. If you have any horror stories of working with brands yourself, please let me know in the chat. Strawberry Road said, haha, perfect opening. Well, I had to do it, right? Because it's going to be a spooky one today. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Let me pull up the IG chat, the TikTok chat. Let me know where everyone's tuning in from. Am I being a little too extra right now? I don't know. I just feel like that's like how I roll. We got that girl, Julia, Curator Council. Agachi, what's up, Daniel? Tuning in. Great to see you. We've got Joshua Timothy. Ooh. Cal says the headlamp really. Well, I was gonna get like a flashlight and do this whole thing okay, once upon a time, but I don't know, maybe that was too extra. I'm gonna turn this off because it's shining in the thing. Okay, guys, let's dive into it. Okay, we're gonna talk about some horror stories. It's Halloween. It's only fitting. And let's just dive right into it, okay? Obviously going to do Q&A towards the end, but first, let's talk about some of these horror stories. This definitely happened to me many, many times, and so all of these are anonymous, okay? Story number 1. A creator agreed to partner with a big name brand, though the terms weren't that favorable to them, but they were excited because it was a larger brand, okay? For example, the brand said, you know what, we're really excited to partner with you, but we are not willing to partner for the usual minimum number of episodes that you require. Okay, this is a podcaster, and usually they have a minimum of 4 episodes that they require to be sponsored to work with a partner. And in addition to that, the brand was only going to be paying 30 days after the spot ran, which is, kind of standard, but also I know there's creators who do ask for some of the money up front. Brand was not willing to do that either. Okay. But again, the brand was very large. They were willing to take a bet on it. They wanted to be able to say that creator, that creator wanted to say that in their media kit, I've worked with this big brand, right? In their niche. Okay. Here's the kicker. They also stipulated that the podcast episodes had to come within 10% of the average downloads. Okay, I've seen this clause before too. And the repercussion for failing to meet the threshold was that this creator was going to have to do a make good episode free of charge. You know what a make good is? Like, basically, you have to do another integration, another placement free of charge. Okay, I've seen a lot of these in contracts. Okay, and what happened throughout the relationship was just crazy. Okay, the brand regularly complained about how the actual sponsorship was read. They said, those were outdated talking points. Those weren't the ones that, we wanted you to use, even though this creator was reading the most up-to-date brief that the brand had sent them, right? So there was some sort of miscommunication on their side. And it led to this kind of constant cycle of the creator offering to do the make good episodes, even though they didn't feel that was warranted, and just left this very overall bad taste. So the lesson here, the takeaway here from my perspective, reading this horror story, is that it can be very easy. Hey, baby, I love you.
Hi, friends. Happy spooky Halloween.
Happy spooky Halloween. Have a good nail appointment.
You're red on the line.
It's because I just took this off.
Oh.
I had my headlamp on.
I'm gonna go now.
Love you. Is that the burning one?
No,
okay.
But it's lipstick, so okay. It was a bare lipstick.
Love you. Drive safely. Okay, so the lesson here again is, oftentimes it can be very intoxicating to get to work with a big name brand, right? A brand that you want to have in your Rolodex, a brand that you want to be able to say that you've worked with, to maybe leverage that clout to potentially work with other brands, right? And so, however, if you let them steamroll you on things that you normally don't, you don't set a precedent to understand, help a partner understand what it's like when they actually work with you. That can very quickly turn into a very toxic situation. And the bummer here is that, I do know there are some brands who kind of like have this attitude that like, you want to work with us, like we're the biggest brand, like of course you're gonna like make this work, right? But you also have to know your worth. You also have to understand that like, you can't just let any brand walk all over you, even if they're a large brand, right? And so, like, again, I think that this is like a very important thing to understand. What are the terms that you're going to be agreeing to at the outset of a partnership like this? If you are going to entertain working with a partner, with terms that you don't normally accept, there has to be a very, very good reason for that. Like if a brand ever tries to tell you like, oh, this is just how we work with every partner, you have to give us perpetual usage rights, or you have to give us a make good, or you have to do XYZ. That's not true, honestly. Like, yeah, maybe that's true for them. And maybe ultimately that means you don't partner with that brand, right? But again, don't let any brand say that to you, because sometimes if you even push back slightly and you say, well, I understand that's how you usually work with creators, but I'm not able to agree to perpetual usage rights. Sometimes they'll be like, okay, we'll make an exception for you. So sometimes they just kind of try to strong arm you and say, oh, this is just boilerplate, this is how we always do it, and it actually takes you speaking up for them to back off that a little bit. So yeah, pretty spooky first story. What do you guys think? Right? What's up, Fourth Born Child? What's up, Cal? Aaron's House of Legos. Good to see y'all. We've got Clayton Hypnosis in the TikTok chat. I think I see Taryn's TikTok tear. I think I see your profile photo in there. Eve Streamly, what's going on? Nick Tux Design. Andy Lyons, what's up, Andy? Let's talk more polish. Great to see you all for this spooky sponsorship horror story stream. Cal says feather in your cap. Absolutely. And I kind of got like maybe like a spooky looking cup for my water today. It's actually more like a Hawaiian kind of tiki looking thing, but it looked scary, so I had to grab it. We've got TikTok live with Harry in the house. What's up, Harry? Good to see you, man. Yeah, Tara, what's going on? Good to see you. Okay, are we ready for spooky story number 2? I should have all I have is crickets here. I should have did some spooky Halloween music or something. We got Nicholas here in the LinkedIn chat with the pumpkin. Good to see you, man. From Extremely, good to see you. All right, so spooky sponsorship story number 2. Am I being too extra here? Come on, I'm just trying to have some fun, guys. Okay, so spooky story number 2. Okay, so like a lot of creators, this anonymous submission, this creator, usually partners up with multiple brands concurrently. This is something that, most creators do, right? Like you're working with one brand, you get another inquiry from another. And so you're kind of at different phases working with brands at different times, right? This is just kind of how it works, right? But what happened was that the creator agreed to work with brand X, on a podcast integration, and then got an opportunity from brand Y, who the creator felt was not a competitor to brand X, this initial brand, okay? And so what happened is that this creator did a integration or an ad read for both brands in the same podcast episode. And the first brand went nuclear when they discovered that the creator was also working with brand Y, when they heard that integration. And they basically said, brand Y is a competitor to us. How could you not know that? And there was no exclusivity or competitive protection clauses in the contract that had never been discussed, that the creator couldn't talk about competitors or other brands or whatever, right? And so they felt like, how do I actually deal with this situation? Because the creator, again, did not feel that other brand was a competitor. And so the creator, what they ultimately did, basically was extend an olive branch or a peace offering to the brand X, the original, brand. And they said, I am going to instead, what if I made a video for free demonstrating your product on my YouTube channel? So this is not another podcast integration, which is what the brand really wanted initially. But they basically said, okay, I'm not going to do another integration. Like we never discussed this, right? Like I'm not going to redo that, but I can do this thing instead. So they kind of slightly pivoted, right? And they offered something that was somewhat novel, right? The brand had not tried that before. And guess what? The brand absolutely loved that. Brand X, they loved the video so much that they actually hired that creator to make 10 more YouTube videos about the brand. And guess what? Now that creator actually produces the brand's podcast, their own podcast. So he pivoted this, this creator pivoted this really could have been a dire situation into something that turned into a much longer term thing, right? And so the lesson here, a couple lessons here, I think. Number one, really quick thinking, really applaud this creator here that, could have been a really challenging situation. But you have to have these conversations up front with brands about who they deem to be competitive. A lot of creators won't want to broach this issue. They're like, you know what, if the brand doesn't talk about exclusivity, then I'm not even going to bring it up because I don't want to be exclusive, right? And I get that tendency, but this is the type of thing that happens when you don't have the same type of expectations that the brand just assumes like, oh, they're not going to talk about any of the, these brands that are even close to, competitive to us. They just assume that. And you do not assume that. And you go and you partner with someone who they would deem to be a competitor. That is where this is just like the relationship completely breaks down. By the way, not all brands would be as, understanding as this brand in the second story. A lot of brands would just be like, we're never working with that creator again. But they were open-minded. They listened to the creator and their explanation of why they didn't believe this other brand was a competitor, this new brand. And then they went on to have a great relationship over the long term. And so again, not every brand is gonna be that understanding though, right? So it's up to you as a creator. The onus is on you to actually have this conversation at the outset and say, hey, you can say in your proposal, like, there's not going to be any exclusivity, and you let them tell you, oh, no, actually, we do need exclusivity. And then you say, okay, well, that's going to be an incremental investment to be able to be, if you want me to be exclusive to your brand or your product, in this category or whatever, right? And so you have to have that conversation. Don't avoid the conversation, right? And so I think that's just like a really important thing. And then just like, the second, like most, like a really important thing I want to emphasize is that this creator remained graceful. They didn't get mad. Yeah, they were a little mad, but they didn't let that outwardly show. They said, okay, in the interest of maintaining this relationship, that's the most important thing. And so I'm going to just figure out what solutions I can offer them to try to mend this. And again, like the perspective that I always come at these types of situations from, because these things happen all the time. I have experienced so many of these types of situations throughout our career as creators, doing hundreds of sponsorships, but also running my agency, that just so many things come up that aren't anticipated at the outset, like when you actually sign the deal. And so if you can go into these types of, conflicts with empathy and without an assumption that the brand is being malicious, that the brand is like, this was premeditated and they're trying to screw you. Because that's a lot of times what happens with creators. They just assume, oh, this brand, like they were trying to do that from the beginning. Like they were trying to screw me. Like they, and that's just never been my experience. Like sometimes things come up, maybe it's someone else on their team or the legal team or their agency or like whatever it is, just like some sort of miscommunication on their end. And like, I get it. That's frustrating and can be annoying, but like, that's just the way this thing works. This is a business transaction. And, you have to understand that just things come up during a partnership. It's the nature of the beast when it comes to working with brands. And so applaud this creator for turning a sponsorship horror story into a sponsorship win. Cha-ching. I should have like prepared these sound effects way better. Can't stop, won't stop says, oh my God, sponsorship horror stories. I have so many. Well, here's the perfect time and place. Please drop it in the chat. Let me share your sponsorship horror story, because this is what we're talking about today. I'm going to take a swig. Relatively Rich Life said, radio voice, Justin. Yeah, I got the radio voice. I got the DJ voice. One of the reasons why my voice is actually sounding a little bit lower today is because I went to a metal concert. Guys, I went to a metal concert on Wednesday. If you follow me on Twitter or Instagram, you probably saw I posted some videos or some pictures, but not only is my voice sore, but my neck is really sore from like doing, they call it the bang over, the head banging. Like, man, I got a massive bang over right now. I'm not gonna lie. But it was a lot of fun. I haven't been to a metal show in like 10 years, and it was perfect. It was, for Halloween. It was great. It was great. Podcast liftoff. What's going on, Joe? Good to see you in the chat, man. We are sharing some anonymous horror stories right now. And thanks for tuning in. Michaela Ferris says, "Were you a radio person before?" I was never a person. I was never a radio person before. Do I sound like I could have been? Because I'll take that. Today on 98.7 KK Jazz, we're going to be playing some oldies. Are you ready? We've got a request from Michaela in here. No? Could I do that? What do we think? Yeah? What? No? Yes? No? All right, we got a couple more horror stories here. And if you have any live sponsorship horror stories, drop it in the chat because I will be happy to share them before we jump into Q&A. Okay. Sponsorship horror story number 3. Okay, this creator made a TikTok video featuring a homeware brand's space-saving paper towel holder. Okay, this is getting really specific here. Okay, and then the video absolutely blew up. I think something like 9 million views, something crazy. Okay, the creator decided to contact the brand and offer them a series of TikToks centered around space, saving kitchen space using the brand's products. First of all, amazing, great work. You take this asset that you performed really well, and then you use that to pitch the brand, right? Great work, creator. Okay. The brand responded, but they offered 8 times less money than the creator was actually asking for. Okay, so, well, that sucks, right? But it's a starting place, maybe. Okay. And creator kept trying to negotiate, tried to adjust the deliverables, but the brand just would not budge. Okay. And so they could not come to an agreement or a deal. Okay. And they thought, you know what? Okay, that's a bummer, but sometimes you just can't come to an agreement, right? Except, it got worse. Oh, it got worse. Okay, hold on. Ooh, it got worse. Okay. The creator was shocked to find that the brand actually downloaded her original video, ran it through some watermark removal software, and guess what? It became their most viewed video at 500,000 views on the brand's handle. And to this day, that creator has not received a cent for any of the work. Man, that is just brutal. Has that ever happened to you or anyone you've known where a brand has like stolen your content and tried to download it, tried to run ads with it? Has that ever happened to you? Has that ever happened to you? So, okay, I'm going to give you like my thoughts on this, like the lesson here, I think, which is perhaps a little bit different than other, people might advise. But the lesson here is that, yes, ultimately some deals will, the negotiations are going to come to nothing. That's just the reality. That's just the way it is. But you do not want to go into this conversation with the brand right off the bat with animosity, because that's what a lot of creators do. How dare you steal my content? How dare you do this? How dare you do XYZ, right? Because in my experience, especially with smaller brands, they don't understand that that's not something that you can do. A lot of creators, again, assume malicious intent. They're just like, they're a thief and they're trying to rip me off and not compensate creators. But like sometimes it's just like a one person, small Etsy business or something like that, right? I'm not talking about large brands that do this type of thing. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is, smaller to medium-sized brands who just don't understand, who think in their head like, the creator will be happy to get the exposure or whatever, right? Like there are people who think that, right? And it could actually be you reaching out and educating the brand about and saying something as simple as this. I am so, hey, brand X, I'm so honored that you liked my content so much that you reposted it. You could, that's the first sentence, right? And then you say, repurposing my content actually requires an investment. So can you let me know what budget you've set aside to secure those rights? I actually have some additional ideas of new content that I could create for you that would be really compelling in a similar vein. Are you free on Thursday at 10 a.m. to talk about it? right? So instead of going in and being like, here's an invoice, or talk to my lawyer, or take it down, cease and desist, take it down immediately, that can be something down the line. Yes, you can, if the brand ignores you or gaslights you or whatever, right, and says, no, we're going to keep it up, like, then you can look into doing a takedown or all this stuff, right? But that's not the first approach. You can turn this into an educational opportunity and income for you, okay? So very, very important. Nick Talks Design says, yes, it has. Also, I've been burned by the make good from the first story. Yep, exactly. You know, these type of things happen. Okay. Leadership with Mike said, I have been told I have a face for radio. Man, I don't know. It's a little insulting. I don't know. Hopefully you took it as a compliment, but yeah, that's not very nice. I hope you threw back something back to them when they told you that. Yeah, yikes. Oh my God. Podcast Liftoff said, love that. Love it too. Love it too. All right, y'all. We got a few more stories. Okay. Okay. This creator agreed to do, so, okay, sorry, let me back up here. I need to do the spooky voice or put some crickets or something. Okay. Sponsorship horror story number 3. Or is this number 4? I don't even know. This creator agreed to do a partnership with the brand involving a promotion of the product, okay? And they agreed to terms, okay? She asked the brand whether they would be writing a contract, sending the contract, or if they would like the creator to. Pretty reasonable, right? Asking for a contract. By the way, if you're not using contracts for your sponsorship agreements or for your sponsorship collaborations, start doing that starting today, okay? And then for 3 weeks, the brand completely ghosted her. She would follow up, say, hey, what's going on? Like, well, why aren't you sending the agreement? Or like, what's going on? Are we still doing this type of thing? Nothing, right? And then finally got a response only to say, hey, we shipped the product and it's going to be there in 2 days. Thanks. And with the assumption that like, okay, how quickly can you turn around the content now? Right? And so this is something that happens all the time, right? Where it's like there's moving pieces on the brand side, and you know, the creator is just totally perplexed, oftentimes thinking like, okay, I guess this deal's not happening anymore. And then the brand is like, okay, product's shipped. When can you turn around the content, right? And the creator's left here thinking, okay, what about the questions I asked you? What about the timeline for the partnership? You know, what about the contract, right? Like, what is actually going on here, right? And so let me break this down, you know, because then you're in this very uncomfortable situation at that point where you have to go back to them. You have to, level set expectations. You have to say, okay, number 1, I need a contract. Number 2, we need to like figure out the timeline here because I didn't know this product was coming. This is something I need time for 7 to 10 days, whatever it is, you know, based on your production schedule. And, you know, again, going back to educating them around what's actually feasible. They may be used to working with creators who are just like, okay, yeah, like whatever, like send me the product, you know, the DM or this email thread will count as an agreement. Like that's fine, whatever, I'll send it to you. Right. But that is not a realistic expectation for how partnerships should actually go, especially if you want a longer term relationship with this brand potentially. You need to set the precedent now that that's just not how you operate. That is not how you work. You're a professional. You have other obligations to other partners. Like that's just not okay, right? So your job actually is to have this conversation at the outset. So if this type of thing happened to you, then obviously you need to like take a step back and have that conversation. But to avoid that, you need to be starting to set the expectations way earlier. So even before you give them your address, right? Because this is what happens. They couldn't have, in this situation, the brand could have never sent the product to the creator unless they had provided their address, right? So as a creator, you should never be providing your address until you have like all of this stuff laid out, right? In terms of the expectations, the timeline, the compensation, like what they're actually going to be paying you, the contract, all that stuff signed and so on, right? So I get it. Sometimes brands will be like, oh, this is a really quick turnaround. Like, well, you know, just give us your address. We'll get it sent to you while we are, you know, figuring out all these other pieces. And like, we've done that a few times, like for sure, I get it, but usually that's like a legitimate brand, people a brand or an agency that we worked with before. So we kind of can allow the cart to go before the horse a little bit more than we would in normal circumstances. But especially if this is a brand that, you've never worked with and this type of thing, then you absolutely need to be much more diligent about taking care of this stuff at the outset. Right. So again, just do not let them, again, like a lot of creators feel as though there's this power imbalance where it's like the brand is going to be compensating them. And so they're just letting the brand carte blanche dictate the timeline and, whether or not there's going to even be a contract and so on. And so that is just could not be further from the truth. You run a business too as a creator. And so you have your own guidelines by how in how you actually engage and collaborate with partners. And so you have to let them know that as well. Kindly, it's not, you don't need to be rude about it, right? You can do it with grace and tactfully, but you really do need to let them know that this is not acceptable, what they're trying to force down your throat, right? Brian's Lawn Maintenance. What's up, Brian? I don't know if I've ever seen you on a live stream. What's up, bro? Good to see you, man. Brian is responsible for buying up every one-on-one slot on my coaching calendar, literally. Like a couple weeks ago, I think, or last month, he bought up every single one. So I appreciate you, man. I don't know how many calls have we had right now? 5 or 6 already? I don't know, but really appreciate you, man. All right. Who do we got in the chat? We've got, I'd like a slice of that. Says, do you have a full-time job? Yes, this is my full-time job. I've been a creator along with my wife for over 8 years now. So this is my full-time job. DIY Kristen, thank you for filling in. I really appreciate it. I'd like a slice of that. Said like TikTok or what aspects? Yeah. So I actually educate creators all around sponsorship strategy. So that is my full-time job. But my wife and I have our own creator stuff that we've been running for many years too. So appreciate the question. All right, y'all. We've got, Brian is now on YouTube. Said, love the live streams 7 to 8, LOL, and worth every penny. There we go. I'm going to screenshot that one. Appreciate you, man. I'm glad you turned in for the spooky Halloween stream. Relatively Rich Life says, I am loving Brand Deal Richard. Brand Deal Wizard. I got mixed up with your name, Relatively Rich Life. We've got Henry and Maya in the house. Great to have you in. So glad to hear you're enjoying the course. And okay, guys, before we move on to general Q&A, let me know if you have any other spooky sponsorship horror stories. You got to let me know. Because, and Strawberry Road is saying, excellent storytelling skills and great spin tips. Appreciate it. Let's get some applause for that, right? Let's get some cha-ching, right? Appreciate you, because I not only wanted to share the spooky stories, but I also wanted to share some lessons, right? Some takeaways, because there's always something that you can learn from things that go awry. And y'all, I have had my own share of horror stories in the past. I actually have 2 videos on my YouTube channel if you are interested in taking a look. But I have one where I talk about how I lost $5,000 on an Instagram brand deal. And then another one where we lost $24,000 on a deal. Oh my God, those were traumatic, y'all. So I do like a similar story. I go into it. I go back and I relive that. I think I gave myself PTSD trying to relive. I actually went back, looked at the emails, all the exchanges, and talked about the lessons learned and everything too. So if you also want to, look at some more or hear some more horror stories, go check those out. Holy cow. Paul from the Green Industry Podcast. No, he did a $19.99 super chat. DoorDash Fund, the Brand Deal Wizard course is fire emojis. Brian, Paul, I see both of you guys right here. And oh my God, now we got Brian doing a 1990. They're just going neck and neck here. The DoorDash Lunch Fund. Brian and Paul, you guys are too much. Really, really appreciate it. You guys know every time I show up on these live streams, all of the super chats go to April and I for our DoorDash fund. We don't order on where we order food on Fridays as our little celebration for getting through the week as right. But thank you guys so much. That really, really means a lot to me, man. I was, it's funny. I was just like a funny little story here since Paul and Brian, I have you in the live stream. I was on a call with your buddy Jeremiah, and I was joking, like, I now have done one-on-ones with, I think, like 6 or 5 or 6 of y'all in your group, right? You guys are like lawn care influencers. I don't know if is that how you describe yourself? I don't know. That's what I'm calling you, right? And I was like, man, I should just set up like a group coaching like package and get all of you guys on the call. You're all working with similar brands. And like, it was funny. I was just joking with Jeremiah around that, Naylor and all that stuff. So yeah, man, it's been great. So I really, really appreciate you guys. Really means a lot to me. And excited for all the stuff on your plate. Let's see here. Who do we got in the TikTok chat? We've got who do we got? We got Official Fish Boss. Was great meeting you at Vid Summit. Absolutely, man. Agreed. Great to see you. Did you investigate that Amazon thing we were talking about? I would say you better go check it out. Hopefully that's helpful. Clark Gary Biz. I have about 75K between here and IG. I've done 8 to 10 deals, but only one consistently. Any advice? All right, let's dive right into Q&A. It's a great question. What do you do if like your brand deal flow feels inconsistent? So this is one of the biggest myths that I dispel more generally, for the courses and the content and all the stuff that I talk about, is that people think that like brand deals, like the volume and the consistency, the cadence in which you actually get deals is just unpredictable, right? It's like, whenever those deals land in my inbox, like, I guess that's when I'm going to do deals, right? And then, yeah, maybe a consistent long-term opportunity falls in your lap. And so it's like nice recurring income. But in my experience, the deals that have turned into the protracted relationships where they are the ongoing thing and you can rely on that income are from opportunities that my wife and I pitched, not ones that came inbound to us. And so it really came from us identifying an authentic partner that we felt would be someone that we'd want to talk about long-term over and over. And then approaching them, actually pitching them and saying, here's why we think a partnership between, our business, right, and your business would be fruitful over the long run. And so that is how, and so a lot of what I teach, and I have a lot of videos on my YouTube channel and TikTok and so on, newsletter, my blog and everything about pitching strategies, because like the biggest unlock is that you have to be supplementing your inbound deal flow with outbound prospecting, right? So that you don't have this kind of lumpiness where it's like, okay, yeah, deal came in, but it's like 2-3 months where it's like, oh man, I don't have any deals, right? And so that really is like kind of the big takeaway here from like the lack of consistency. If you are looking to inject more certainty into your sponsorship income, that's the exact reason I created my course, Brand Deal Wizard. And so I'm actually in the current cohort number 7 right now. And so that ends in 2 weeks. And so the next cohort will be starting in the February-March timeframe. So if that's something that's actually interesting to you, you want to learn how to actually, I kind of take you through my framework called the Sponsorship Wheel. It's an 8-step framework, how you actually do that. Then just go to branddealwizard.com and join the waitlist. So hopefully that helps. All right. Yeah. Clueless Bushcraft said you met him too at Vid Summit. Yeah, I met all y'all. It's so dope. Yeah, podcast liftoff. Joe says loving the cohort. I appreciate that, man. Really, really so great to have you in here. You're such a great presence in there. Let's see. Someone, there we go. Official Fish Boss says, yes, it's been thumbs up. All right. I'm glad to hear it, man. DM me. I want to hear more about like your strategies there. Then definitely do that. Relationship coach Irina says, do you audit pages? So not officially. I do one-on-one calls, obviously. Usually that's not the focus of the calls. Usually it's more related to sponsorship strategy, negotiations, and setting your pricing and so on. But if you want to book a one-on-one call so I can audit your stuff, definitely let me know. Happy to do that. I've done hundreds of audits actually over the years, but I just they're very time consuming. And so essentially what I did is actually in my new course that I launched last month called Gifted to Paid, I did a whole section of the course all around how to audit and optimize your own social persona on the internet. And so I felt a little bit more of a scalable model instead of doing a bunch of these one-on-one. But as part of the launch, I actually did 5 extremely detailed audits. I call them my brand attraction audit. And those are actually included as bonuses in the course. And the course is called Gifted to Paid, if you're interested in that. Okay. Clark Gary Biz says, appreciate the advice. 100% happy to help. All right. I did want to acknowledge a comment here from Nick. In my experience, the bigger the brand, the more high maintenance they are and the more voices that are involved. Don't film unless the shot list and the script are approved. Nick, that's 100% right. The larger a brand gets, the larger a company gets, the more fingers in the pie, whether it's an agency or the legal team or, the brand manager or the, director or whatever. It's just like, and these people can get introduced into the mix like halfway through. So it's like, oh, now all of a sudden we need buy-in from this like stakeholder that you didn't know about before. Okay, sounds great. But like, this is just what happens. It's par for the course, right? Nick, I'm so glad you brought that up. And it's in fact, it's something that I go into in extreme detail in my course, is how important it is to present a concept to the brand, even if they're not asking you for it, right? A lot of brands will say, okay, submit a concept and we'll provide feedback and all that stuff. But like a lot of brands won't. They'll just be like, oh, we just want it to be organic and authentic and like all this stuff, right? And so what ultimately happens, like my wife and I early on, we got burned by brands telling us that. And they're like, oh, okay, they'll just like be cool with however we do it. And then we ultimately submit the deliverables. And the brand is like, well, this isn't what we had in mind at all. Can you reshoot it? Right. So it's just like, and that happened enough times that we were like, okay, this is not happening anymore. And so we just preemptively started providing concepts and overviews before we ever did anything, so that the brand or the company had the opportunity to provide feedback on that, right? And so again, these are all the things that come with being a professional creator, because believe me, most 99% of creators are never going to do this, right? And so when you actually do this, and speculatively, essentially, or preemptively, and the brand sees that, and they're gonna be like, "Wow, like this creator knows what they're doing. They're legitimate, right?" And so again, that's just like another check in the box. Going back to Clark Gary Biz's question is like, this is just like another. You have another thing going for you, for being able to turn these one-off partnerships into longer-term things, because it's a lot of it comes down to who you are as a creator, or who you are as a person, who you are as a creator, who you are as a business person, your how communicative you are, how professional you are, how nice you are to work with, how easy it is, how do you make their life easier, right? There's a lot of these intangible kind of qualitative characteristics that brands and agencies and companies are looking for when they decide to like, hey, we just want to let's just put 10 creators on retainer and they'll make content for us all the time, or guest blog posts or podcast integrations, whatever. These are our 10 best people because they just make our life easier. And it's not always just about the numbers. That's like something I keep going back to over and over and over, because people always want to say like, yeah, my reach has decreased, or I'm not getting as many downloads on my podcast or opens on my newsletter, like views on TikTok, YouTube, whatever. I can't reach out to brands. Like brands are going to be, disappointed in me. And when they do get a deal, they don't even follow up with the brand to see how it did, because they're concerned about the performance, right? And so it's actually the creator who is very low ego. They have the hubris to actually reach out and say, hey, like, how did it go? Like, whether it went well or whether it didn't go so well, right? You're going to be getting data as a creator to understand how you can improve, right? And so I think that's just like a really, really important thing to understand about why you do these things that the brand isn't even asking for, like submitting a concept, like asking for feedback after the campaign is over, like submitting a post-campaign report, which is what I teach in my course. I'm going to be talking about that in week 3 next week. And so it's just so critical, and just creators just don't do these things, right? Because it's just not, they don't see, either they've never realized that that's an important thing, or they just don't understand how that can contribute to a lot more income certainty for them down the line, right? I'm going to take a swig. All right, we've got Freezer Meal Mama. What a great username, Freezer Meal Mama. I'm gonna have to send my wife your profile because that actually sounds cool. We've got who we got? We got Adria Luna, a makeup girl with guns. We've got Ariana 519, Simply Fafa, Loud Rizzle, Wooden Home Accents. Hello, Petite Evie, Petite V. I don't know if I said that right. We've got, let's see. Okay, we got a question here from Podcast Liftoff, or a comment. When I do scripted videos for brands, there is verbiage and a signature line and a date on the script itself. Wow, Joe. Also, get in writing who gets final approval on the script. Too many voices means you might get approval by the wrong person. Wow, the date and the signature on the concept is very interesting. I've never actually done that, Joe. You taught me something today. That's actually cool. Interesting. Yeah, so it's like there can be no misalignment of expectations of whether they even approve this or not. So love that. That's really cool. Question from Relatively Rich Life. Is VidSummit worth attending every year? So I don't know if it's Henry or Maya, but this is my very first time attending. I've been to VidCon 7 or 8 times, actually. I've been a lot. That's the one pilgrimage I've made like many, many years. And I've been to Playlist Live, but I also, this is my very first year going to VidSummit, and I loved it. Like 100%, I'm going to go back again next year. And yeah, like I would really recommend it. The reason is that VidCon is very much like, it's also kind of like a community event. So there's like fans and your viewers and so on. But what I found at VidSummit, it was like very creator. It was like mostly creators. There were some fans for sure, or some viewers. But I would say 90% it was like creators that you got to talk to, like interact with other creators. And so it just felt like this awesome, I got to meet so many people that I've been friendly with on the internet for like 2 years, the last several years, but never had met them. And so it was just like, it was great. And all the sessions and all that stuff too. So it's very much YouTube focused, I'll say. Like if YouTube is your thing, it's very much YouTube focused. But really like there were TikTokers and so on and stuff too. But yeah, it was really, really well done. I liked it. Another question from Henry: do sponsors like to see live chats on your channel? I'm thinking about implementing lives. So here's my perspective on live streaming in general. For creators who mainly do VOD content, right, like on demand stuff. So when I started live streaming on, for my Creator Wizard stuff, we have done live streams on other platforms, Instagram, and yes, on YouTube and Facebook and stuff, over the years. But when I started live streaming consistently on a specific cadence, like every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, right? You guys know you can expect this, like to just show up and I'm going to be here every Friday, right? What it actually did was deepen the intimacy and deepen the connection that I had with y'all. That was the reason that I did it. It wasn't really to I want to attract brand sponsors and all this stuff, right? Like that was not the primary goal that I had, actually doing the live streams. But the most amazing thing about introducing a new content format into my arsenal was that I now had the ability to offer it to sponsors, right? And so it didn't starting to do live streaming was like working with sponsors was not, it was not born out of that as a strategy, but it became a byproduct of that, right? And so, I've had sponsors of the live stream, like Restream, the tool that I actually use to do this live stream right now and multi-stream on a bunch of different platforms, sponsored my live stream, for several streams last year. And so absolutely, it's something that I can offer in my arsenal. Here's the thing that I want to talk about. Actually, this is a great segue to understanding all the different content formats that you have in your creator business. Is that one of the biggest reasons to do this, and to whether it's short form content or live streaming or whatever it is that you want to be able to have a solution for whatever a brand, for whatever ailments or objectives brands have. So if a brand tells you that, we have found that really engaging, having this back and forth, really super engaged interaction when someone talks about our product. Like if let's say I was trying to sell this money gun, right? It's kind of hard to sell a money gun in a static Instagram photo, right? Because you're not going to get to see the money flowing out of it, right? You need to see that in action. And even if I was like talking about like, how many, like if someone asked me, this is like a terrible example, but like, right, if someone asked me how much fake money comes out per second, right? You're asking me that question live and I'm able to like, show you it, right? Like, my wife and I do Amazon lives, right? And so, we're able to, people are saying, oh, is it true to size? Right. And so, my wife is like trying on the item and she's able to like say in person, oh, like it's true to size, or, oh, does it need to size up, or like whatever. Right. And so there's so much power in being able to talk about a brand live. And so if there's a brand that comes to you and says stuff like that, then you can say, oh, okay, well, then package number 1 is going to be all about live streaming. I can do a live stream. I can do XYZ. Or for example, here's another good example of this. Okay. And this is something that I teach in my course about, actually Dee, who is our community manager, did a whole session this morning all around how to construct a compelling proposal. And the most important thing that you need to think about when you do these proposals is that you need to identify, okay, page number 1 on this proposal is going to be what I heard. I had a conversation with you on Zoom or on a phone call or via email or whatever it is. And you told me that these are the 3 or 4 things that are most important to your brand for 2023 or whatever. So that's page 1. Page 2, right? Or, subsequent pages, when you're actually saying, here's what I'm going to do for you. Package 1 is going to be tied to goal number 1. Let's say that it's some brand SaaS software or something, right? They say, our most important, like one of the most important things for us is driving leads or trial signups for our software program, right? And so package number 1 better not be, I'm going to do an Instagram reel. That's not package 1. Package 1 is, okay, I'm going to do a bunch of Instagram story sets and every frame is going to have a link sticker, which will drive to the landing page for the trial sign up or whatever, right? It's tied to the goal, right? Because that's how they're going to be able to justify paying you money and paying you, especially what I teach, 2, 3, 4, 5x the amount of money, because you're showing them that they have this business objective and you're showing them exactly how you're going to help them accomplish it. It's not just, oh, here's 5 packages of how I work with every single brand. No, that's not how it works. I know this is I'm getting a little off topic here, but that's the reason why it's so powerful to have all these different content formats in your arsenal so that you can solve a brand or a company's problem, regardless of what their problem is. You can be like, oh, I have something for that. I've got this newsletter. Right? And we can, do a dedicated blast all about this thing. Click the link, right? Or I can do a YouTube community post, or I can do a TikTok live, or I can do whatever it is, right? I can do a podcast, right? Whatever the brand's thing is. And I get it. I get that it's hard to maintain all of these different types of content formats and platforms and all this stuff. And so I'm not saying you have to do every single one, but you do need to identify, what do I think are the top 2, 3, 4 formats and platforms that the brands I want to work with, those are the things that they care about. And so it would behoove you to invest your time and energy, doing that if you want to work with those brands, right? Did I get off topic? I don't know if I did, but I wanted to talk about this because it's a mistake I see a lot of people making. Strawberry Road said, I watched your live with Dee and I loved everything she shared. So Strawberry Road, at some point you probably need to take the course then, because Dee is a huge presence as part of the program, and she runs sessions on her own as well, and she's just an absolute superstar. So if you want more of Dee, then you should definitely join the program at some point, because the things she teaches, she was an alumni. She went through it in cohort number 3, and she has become. I ultimately hired her because she's just so incredible, such an amazing advocate for creators. Has built her creator business on, she's a creator, has built her creator business in her own right. And so it's just, she's amazing. Okay. Let's see. Daxus Cage has a question here. Price range for a sponsored post for 800,000K account in a specific niche on TikTok. So, I'm sorry to say, or happy to say, that it is so specific on a bunch of different factors, Daxus Cage. So if there's anyone out there who has ever told you, oh, just charge 2% of your following, or, this formula with your engagement rate, it's all BS. Like the fact that you have 800,000 followers is meaningless to me. There's so many more things that I need to know about the deal, for example, right? So I need to know what's the brand, what is their campaign goal type? Is it conversion focused? Is it content repurposing? Is it brand awareness, right? Because this is one of the core things that I teach is that every deal that you price is going to be different and it's going to be based on the brand's objectives. You cannot price yourself in a vacuum because every brand is going to value you differently and value your contributions to this campaign. Okay. The major area that does matter though is likely going to be something like your average viewership on your TikTok. So how many average views, how many average impressions are you getting on your content? And yes, that does play a big role in how you're pricing yourself from a baseline perspective. But then there's also other things. What are the usage rights for the campaign? What is the exclusivity? If there's usage rights, is there paid usage rights? So they want to actually run paid advertising. What's the duration of that? Is there going to be exclusivity associated with this deal? If there is, what's the category? What's the term of exclusivity? I'm not trying to confuse you. What I am trying to showcase, though, is that the way to make a lot more money working with brands is to educate yourself around how to price, okay? Because you're leaving lots and lots of money on the table if you just have a standard media kit with a rate card and you're just like, okay, here, I'd love to partner with you, right? How do you know the brand wasn't willing to pay you 10 times the amount of money for that campaign, right? Yeah. So anyways, I'm not trying to like, here's the thing too, is that, I get it. It can be tough in the beginning to figure out how to actually price yourself, right? And so oftentimes what creators do is they'll ask their peers, they'll ask their other creators, other people in similar niches or on similar platforms, how much do you charge? Right? And this is how a lot of people start out. That's kind of how we started out, too. Is how do you know whether your friend is actually pricing themselves well too, right? Maybe they base their pricing on someone else who also did not know how to price. And so again, sponsorships and brand deals are one of the largest and most meaningful ways that creators make income. Look at any recent report or research, that has been done on this. It's like look, every other bucket of income is like so much lower, right? Anywhere from 60 to 70% of creators have said that. And so this is the one area, in my opinion, where you need to educate yourself on it, because not only could it inject more certainty into your business, give you less anxiety around, your income month to month if the majority of your income is sponsorships. And so like in educating yourself around that good. Yeah. I'm not saying you have to hire me. I'm not saying you have to take my courses. I don't care if you take any of my courses. What I really want you to hear though, is that watch some of my YouTube videos, sign up for my newsletter, right? I'm sharing stuff all the time, free stuff, free articles, free videos, all around this topic of just how to talk. The words to use, the vocabulary you use matters. Right. So I would really implore you to do that, because there's really no like professional education that you can there's no like, oh, I'm going to go get a certification in this, or I'm going to go back to school and, major and negotiate. Like that does not exist. And so that's candidly one of the reasons why I started creating content for Creator Wizard, why I have my courses and my one-on-ones and my coaching and all that stuff, because I don't know if Brian or Paul, if you're still in here, or any of my Henry, Maya, you can probably testify to this, that this stuff, like if you can get better at this stuff, it will meaningfully change your life very quickly. Right. So I would really, really encourage you, however you do it. Like you don't have to hire me, you don't have to hire whatever. I don't care. Hire someone though. Learn, take a course, invest in your knowledge, read some blog posts, watch some YouTube videos, at the very least, join my newsletter. Anyone who's on here, who's not on my newsletter, I share paid sponsorship opportunities every single week for free. These are paid opportunities. Okay. So I would really recommend signing up for that. It's just creatorwizard.com/join if you're not on it. Okay. I think we're almost about to hit 8,000 creators on the newsletters. Can you believe it, y'all? This is in 2 years. Absolutely wild to me. 8,000 people care what I have to say or want to get brand deals. Let's be fair. Let's be real here. Carrie says, I appreciate and I love the newsletter. Carrie, you were lurking here. I didn't even know you were in the chat here. But the fact that you actually opened up the chat thing and you said, I appreciate and love this newsletter, to just give me some my own validation. You guys got to remember, I'm talking to myself here into a microphone. Yes, I'm engaging with you, but I really am talking to myself. So I need the feedback from you. If you guys are lurking right now, leave me a comment. Let me know, hey, I've been watching the live stream the whole time. I didn't have anything to say, but now that now that I know that I need the feedback, guys, I need the validation. I need to know you're listening and that this is useful to you. Kristen said, just the knowledge of how to pitch yourself to brands is worth taking the course. Holy cow. Both. Oh my God. Holy cow. Can I get a screenshot of that? Like, I just got a screenshot on TikTok of like these testimonials coming in hot right now. Hold on. I got to like send this to myself. I think I like turned off the TikTok by doing this every time. I don't know why I do it, but I have to send it to myself. Okay, here we go. If this is going to be sent, I think I turned off my TikTok chat. Oh my God. Sorry, guys. Coming back soon. I'm coming back. Am I here? I'm back. There we go. I'm back. Yeah. Okay. Oh, Skincare Over 40 by Jody says, I'm lurking. Good to see you. And Aaron, good to see you. Carrie says, I'm listening. Very useful. I'm not even ready to be sponsored, and I'm revved up by what you're saying, and I can't wait to be to that point. Carrie, let's talk about this real quick. Why are you not ready? You're ready right now. I don't care how many followers you have, because you have value. There are brands out there. Yeah, maybe the pitch isn't, I'm going to talk about you on my YouTube channel, but I will create content for your YouTube channel. I'll create content for your Instagram or for your TikTok. I will help you launch it. Here's my link to my channel as my portfolio. That's what my channel is right now. So you're ready now. Okay? Brian said, this stuff is gold. Education is everything. And Justin, you're the GOAT. Man, come on. Thank you, Brian. I seriously can't say thank you enough. Brian, I appreciate you, man. Green Industry Podcast said, I was leaving so much money before hiring Justin. His newsletter, the one-on-one coaching course, and the courses have been life-changing. Money bag emoji. Holy cow. Leaving money on the table before finding Justin. I appreciate it, man. Paul, I really, really appreciate it. Michaela says, trying to save up for your course for next year, hopefully, but I'm enjoying the newsletters. Yes, absolutely. 100%. Like, man, hopefully I can get you, at the very least, get you paid with the newsletter. Holy cow, Dax's Cage coming through with the super chat. I appreciate you, man. Thoughts on signing with a talent agency? All right. Let's talk about this. So number one, Daxis, after this live stream, search on my YouTube channel, influencer manager, just that keyword. I have a whole video on whether or not you should hire an influencer manager. Okay. But right now, let's talk about some of the key points here. And I think this is going to be the last question because we're almost at time. How did that happen? Spooky sponsorship horror stories that just went by in a flash. Crazy. Okay. But Daxis, really appreciate the super chat, man. Really means a lot to me. So let's talk about this. Signing with the talent agency. First of all, let me know in the chat, is anyone currently, do they have a manager or are they signed with a talent agency? I'm curious as we talk about this. My perspective on this is a couple-fold, Daxis. So over the years, my wife and I have been with several YouTube networks. So we've been with several multi-channel networks. And while they didn't manage us really or manage our business per se, there were advantages over the years. Not every, YouTube network is made equal for sure. But it was useful in the beginning when we were finding our bearings. We were trying to understand what it was like actually working with brands, that kind of whole back and forth process. It was very useful for them to actually be bringing us business. That was definitely helpful back in the day, but we had to give up some things in exchange for that. So, at some point they had taken a percentage of those deals. They had taken a percentage of our AdSense earning. Again, this is like related to YouTube. But we have not been managed or, as part of a YouTube network for many, many years. And again, like they never really truly managed us because they never like helped us with broader initiatives or broader like goals that we had for our business, like launching product lines or like just like the day-to-day administrative aspects of running a creator business and all that stuff. There are definitely managers that you can get that will do those types of things. A lot of people have, a manager, they have a personal assistant or a VA or something like that too, those are the people that handle the actually, email triage, for example, or, other just kind of day-to-day stuff. And then they also have like a manager and, agent. So to split hairs real quickly, the difference between a manager and an agent oftentimes, when you think of an agent, that's like kind of the traditional Hollywood route where it's like, the CAAs, the William Morrises of the world, this type of thing. Those are the people who they do have digital talent divisions. And oftentimes the reason that you'll go that route is if you have these larger aspirations as a creator, you want to get into traditional media or TV or broadcast, movies, this type of thing, acting, writing a book, like going on tour, like launching merchandise, all that stuff. Oftentimes people will go on to hire an agent because, they have a lot of experience doing that type of stuff. A manager, on the other hand, oftentimes does have much larger purview over your overall business if you want them to. Not every manager, but a lot, right? So not just negotiating brand partnerships, but a lot of this other stuff, keeping helping you understand, okay, where do you want your career to go? If you say, okay, in 5 years, I want to do X, Y, Z. And they say, okay, if that's where you want to be in 5 years, here's what you need to do today. Here's the steps that you need to take now to get there. The good managers will be able to guide you in that way. And so at the end of the day, if you're talking with it really depends on kind of what type of manager you're looking for or what type of talent agent. Everyone kind of calls themselves different things. So it's kind of complex. But at the end of the day, you have to make this decision. Okay, are you going to sign on with an agency that has tens of thousands of creators? Because there are some out there that are like that. It's like the volume approach. It's like, oh, we've got 20,000 creators and blah, blah, blah. We have all this deal flow and all this stuff, right? And that's one model, right? Or are you going to go after the person who has a handful? Like they have a small roster, maybe it's 5 to 20 people, something like that, or maybe it's less than 5, right? And perhaps they're probably going to hustle harder for you. But the downside is they probably have less experience, right? Because they have a smaller roster. They haven't been doing it for as long. So they still have to, figure out the lay of the land and understand how all this stuff works. I can't tell you, I've had probably, I think I've had 5 talent managers actually go through my course. Interestingly. So these are people who are, kind of they manage a small roster, but they're trying to learn and understand the ecosystem and how sponsorships work and all that stuff. And so before they actually enrolled, they messaged me and was like, I'm not a creator, but I manage creators. Do you think my program would help you? And all that stuff. And so I ultimately said, yeah, absolutely. It's definitely going to help you understand how the dynamics work when it comes to working with brands and agencies and so on. So yeah, I think that hopefully this is helpful, Daxus. But again, I really would recommend you watch that video because I talk a lot about more of the kind of pros and cons associated with working with brands. So yeah, thanks again for the super chat. Brian, Paul, appreciate your super chats as well. Okay, real quickly, Home Studio Simplified. You've been here in the chat and you've been really, really kind. And I want to answer your question before we leave. What kind of strategy would you use to create a long-term brand collaboration, like 6-month or 1 year commitment? Okay. I'm going to be real with you here, Home Studio Simplified. Let me know your name if you can in the chat so I can stop calling you by your channel name. The cold truth of it is that you need to do good work on a one-off deal first. You're going to be very hard pressed to find a brand that's willing to ink a long-term agreement with you if they do not have an understanding of what it's like working with you continuously. Because I can speak to this firsthand. I ran an agency for many years that lots and lots of creators are very unprofessional. They're very non-communicative. They are very difficult when things come up. When during the feedback phase and you're providing, edit requests and revisions and all that stuff, and they're just really, really difficult to work with. Imagine getting into a 6 or a 12-month deal with someone like that. And so any brand who has done creator partnerships for a while has also been through this. And so, it's going to be difficult to find a brand who's willing, if you've never worked with them, it's going to be difficult for them to justify that. And so my advice would be to do stellar work. Always, your default is just do stellar work. You're polished, you're communicative, you're professional. You are just you take work off their plate. You make their life easier. That is your default, right? And if you just continue to do that, I guarantee you, these longer term deals will come. You still have to pitch them, right, Robert? You still have to pitch them on these longer term things, but that's usually after you've already proven it, right? And so one of the things I teach in my course and my coaching and stuff like that, in my content more generally and on my live streams, is that the moment that you get done with that first deal, that's the exact time you submit your post-campaign report to them and you say, here are the qualitative and quantitative insights from this activation that we did together. And I am now going to pitch you on the next collaboration idea from this data, right? My followers, I got DMs, I got emails, whatever, saying, oh, I love that thing you talked about. I wish you would have talked about this thing more, this aspect of it. And you say to the brand, hey, check this out. This would be a great, future video idea, or you lay it out to them. You say, okay, here's the 2023 strategy I think that we can do together. Quarter one, I'm going to talk about this. Quarter two, quarter three, quarter four. We're going to meet up every quarter and we're going to do XYZ. We're going to talk about it. We're going to course correct. We're going to adjust the messaging based on what's working and what's not, right? And so this is the way. And so what I really advise you is that don't go out the gates trying to pitch a long-term thing, because you're going to get frustrated. It's going to be challenging. Just think about yourself, right? Like, would you hire someone like that you never met, like hire them full-time, like right out the gates, like in your own creator business? Probably not. You're going to probably want to hire them on as a freelancer for 90 days or something, or a month, or a project basis initially, and just see how they work. And yeah, maybe they just keep going, keep taking on more and more work because they're great, and you want to you start trusting them, right? And then that's when you're ready to make the investment into them and your own business, right? So just like kind of put yourself in their shoes and try to commiserate a little bit. And so your pitching strategy should follow suit, basically, and understand that you just have to do good work before you can oftentimes nail down some of these longer term things. Is that helpful? Thank you so much for y'all for tuning in. Oh yeah, DIY Kristen, just real quick. All the brands I work with are always grateful that I get content out before the content is due. Yeah. Small things make a huge difference. Yeah. 100% agree. Robert said, thanks, man. Gold. 100% happy to help. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the sponsorship horror stories. I hope it was creepy. I hope it got you. I hope you felt like it was some like campfire stories, like, oh, did you guys ever watch that? Okay, first of all, did you ever read Goosebumps? I think I read like every Goosebumps book when I was a kid. Did you ever watch or read Are You Afraid of the Dark? Or no, were they books? Did they have books also? I know it was a show, but then there was also that one like Scary Stories to like, what was that Scary Stories book called? I don't know. I used to be really into that stuff as a kid. So I hope you enjoyed the sponsorship horror stories. And hope you have a wonderful Halloween if you celebrate. And I hope you have a great weekend. And I will see you back here next Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. And I'll catch you on the interwebs, y'all. Peace.